Well, it's August 1st, and down here on the main farm doing some food plot prep. I put my hot fence up around my corn. I already had one up around my beans, and just kind of prepping the last little bit for fall plots. It's super dry here in the Midwest. We haven't had rain in a couple weeks, at least nothing significant. So we're just kind of at a standstill waiting for the rain so we can get our brassicas in the ground, basically. So I figured this would be the perfect time to throw together my deer hunt from last year, my archery kill, the biggest deer I've ever killed. Shot him in November, and it's one of those hunts that just, it was meant to be. From the stand, the ability to hunt it, and just how everything led up to that point. So I'm going to kind of give you the rundown of the hunt, and then we'll work our way into it.
Bet.
All started out in the summer. I have had permission on this farm for multiple years to bow hunt it. I've had a couple stands, had some good deer on camera. I just didn't hunt it that much because the access was so hard. I had to park on the highway, and this landowner, I'm not allowed to drive anything, no four-wheelers, nothing like that. So to get to my stands, I had to walk through a lot of CRP, and I felt like I was bumping deer. I'd only go in when things were perfect, and nothing ever panned out. So after going through a bunch of different maps, topos, I realized that there was another access on the north end of the farm. Double checked with the landowner. He said, yep, that's where it is. I said, okay, great. So going forward into last year, this opened up a whole new just set of options, honestly. Different side of the farm I could hunt, easy access. So I went in, put up a couple cell cameras, and just waited. It took about a month before I really got a good deer on camera, and it was at the end of September, and I said, okay, now it's time to go in and hang a stand. I had already known kind of the general area where I wanted one. So I brought in a set of sticks and a stand, carried them in there where I wanted to get, right by the camera I couldn't get to. There were no trees that really worked, so I went farther down this old ATV trail, and as I'm walking down it, I couldn't believe the amount of old rubs and scrapes that were all over this old trail. And right at the end is this giant oak tree that just screams, put a stand here. So I look around, and it's almost like a hub. I actually call this the wagon wheel set, because right in front of the stand is where 3 different old four-wheeler trails all intersect in almost a giant Y, and there were a half a dozen deer trails all leading right into this hub. So I knew I had to get a stand in there, hung the stand, made a mock scrape right underneath it, put a DS4K overlooking the scrape. I didn't want to put a cell camera there yet. I wanted to see what was around a little bit closer to season. So get everything done there, scrape's done, camera's hung. I get out of there and just wait for the pictures to show up. I still had my original cell camera where I'd gotten the one deer on that was only about 80 yards away. And he didn't show back up, but a couple other really nice deer were in the area, and I said, okay, I should probably go check that DS4K. Go in there, pull it, boom, there he is. You know, I'm thinking this deer's mid-60s, big 10-pointer, along with 2 or 3 other really nice mature deer. So I said, all right, as soon as I get a chance to hunt, I'm going to sneak in here. Well, mid-October, late October, hit, and I had a good wind, and I was going to go sit it on an evening. Went into the stand, first sit, and right away the action was picking up. So I had multiple does come in right into the hub, and there was a gorgeous 3-year-old came right in, started bumping them, checking them, running them all around, and that was basically the night. But it just cemented the fact that I was in the right spot and that they were comfortable there. So I hunted it a couple other times, once in the morning and once in another afternoon. Saw some deer, nothing I wanted to shoot, and I just decided to kind of stay out of there. It was getting to be that first week in November, and I was having my cameras blow up on some other farms with some really, really big deer that I was trying to go after. So I let that farm sit. So fast forward to November 13th, and I'm hunting a different farm, and middle of the day, cell camera goes off. It's that big typical. I'm like, okay, great. I'm hunting over here. I can't do anything about it. The next day was Sunday, the 14th, and I was burned out. I'm sitting at home, and it's Sunday. I'm like, I'm just going to watch football, not in the mood to hunt. And my wife decides to take our daughters to her sister's up by Clear Lake. So they leave about 10 o'clock, and I'm like, that's fine. I'm just going to chill here, watch some football. And like 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock, cell phone goes off. I look at it. It's that farm. I pop it up. Here he is with a doe. First picture's a doe. Next two pictures are him walking past. And I said, I have to go in. So get all my stuff together, throw everything in the truck, drive the hour and a half down to the farm, get to the farm, get everything ready. It's now about 12:30, 12:45 when I get there. I walk in, climb up in the stand, get everything situated, flip my phone on, start watching football. And it didn't take long. I heard something running. I look up. Here comes a doe. And right behind her, here comes the buck back. So the doe goes running through the 2-track at about 40 yards, comes over to my right, and is down in the bottom. And I'm like, okay, he's going to go right where she is. So get the camera turned on, get it turned right there. Here he comes, go back to full draw, and he turns right into the lane. So I'm sitting there at full draw, waiting for him to open up and follow his doe, and he doesn't. He starts walking down the trail right at me. So as he's walking towards me, I have to let my bow down, get everything readjusted, get my bow set where I need to, making sure that the doe's not catching me. He's looking at down underneath me. He doesn't see me, he's just looking. And he's standing in front of me, quartering hard to at like 30 yards for what seemed like an hour, but was actually probably a minute or two. And I could tell something was off. He knew something was different. He couldn't smell me. He maybe heard me moving or could see me moving, but he knew something wasn't right. And you can tell with these big deer when they're getting ready to leave, and that's what he was doing. He started to backpedal a little bit. I drew, got him to stop in the exact same spot that he entered. I knew how far it was, settled the pin, and released the arrow. He was hard quartering away, so I tucked the arrow in right behind the last rib, and pretty much that's right where I hit. The arrow went up into him. I'm assuming hit the offside shoulder, and I watched as he ran away through the woods. And as he was running away, all I could see was this blood pouring down his side. And I didn't realize how good of a shot it was till later. So after I shoot this buck and he goes tearing off, I kind of freak out. I just shot the biggest deer in my life. I hit him back, but he's bleeding like crazy. I'm calling a couple buddies. Nobody's picking up their phone. I mean, I just killed the biggest deer in my life and nobody's answering their phones. And I can't believe it. So I sit there, 30 minutes or so. Well, now that I've had time to calm down a little bit and review the footage, he was quartering away pretty hard, and I tucked it in right into the liver, and it probably got up into the other lung. But when I watched him run away, and a little bit of the video I had, there was blood pouring down his side. So I'm just gonna pack everything up, give it some time, see if he kicked out the arrow right away. I couldn't tell. He hit a tree and it looked like the fletching moved, but he's definitely a dead deer, and he could be dead right now, but I'm just gonna give it an hour or so, pack up my stuff, kind of see where he went, and there's an opening probably 100 yards up here that I'm probably going to walk to, and he ran past it, and just glass and see if I can see him laying there. Otherwise, go head to the truck and just reload and maybe we'll grab a quick bite to eat and then going after him. But it's the buck I came in here after. He's a big typical 10. I don't know how big he is. He's by far my biggest deer ever, and it all came together. I got pictures of him this morning at 10 o'clock on my cell camera. Got in here about 1 and shot him at 1:45. Came in behind his doe. She skirted and went down, and we were in a standoff for probably 4 or 5 minutes, and I knew he wasn't going to come in all the way, so I adjusted my pin, and when he went to walk away, I stopped him and snuck it in there. So I'm excited. I just, until I get my hands on him, it's going to be going up and down. So we get my stuff together and go look. Obviously had gotten lucky and hit that artery because the amount of blood at impact was absolutely insane. All right, well, there's a stand up there in that tree. He was standing right here when I shot him. And there's blood instantly all over the tree. And there's blood everywhere. I'm gonna flip this around and see if we can't find him. So I get on the blood trail and start following it, and it's just a carpet. I'm walking at this point, not even having to look down or go slow. I'm just following this red trail. And I get through the timber, get into this open CRP field. It's, this farm is 500 or 600 acres, and 80% of it is open CRP, and he runs right in the middle of the CRP. Well, I've gone maybe 80 yards since I hit him, and it's spraying all over. It's just got out of the timber. I'm in this grass. A lot of it's been mowed, and it's just spurt, 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 spurt. So I'm just gonna keep following it and see where it leads. So I'm following the blood trail. I get out in the open, and the sun hits his antlers, and I can just see him glowing, and he's laying dead out in the middle of the field, and he ran maybe 150 yards. Just found him. Antler shining in the sunlight. So finally, after over 20 years of bow hunting, I shoot this gorgeous buck, and I walk up to him and pull him up, and I don't realize how big he actually is. You know, I initially, when I got pictures of him, I'm thinking mid to upper 60s, you know, a really, really good typical deer. I get him on the ground, and I'm like, man, this deer might be 170 inches. All right, here he is. What an absolute giant deer. Biggest deer I've ever killed. Main frame 6x6. Little kicker on his 2, trash on his brows. But what an absolute tank of a deer. Oh my God. So I've been after this deer all season, and I finally had a picture of him today at 10 a.m. He was here yesterday at 11 a.m. I couldn't get in first thing in the morning, so I was like, I'm gonna do a 10 to 2. Well, didn't get in the stand until 1. And about 1:30, I saw a doe coming and looked up, and he was behind her. He started coming down the trail and stopped at 35 yards, 30 yards, came in and was getting ready to leave. And I stopped him, tucked it right in, right behind the last rib, and he probably went 150 yards and is toast. But this is my biggest deer ever. Super happy, and this has been one roller coaster of a season. But gonna get tag on him, get him drug out of here, and sleep in tomorrow. Take care of him, take some, you know, a quick video, drag him out. I had to go get a deer cart because I can't drive or do anything on that, and it was about a 300-yard haul with a deer cart. Get him loaded up at the truck and head home. Get him in the garage, and I had to put a tape to him. And I scored him 3 times and ended up at 177 and 1/8. And I was shocked. I figured I had to be doing something wrong. But I scored him 3 times, and it was 177 or 177 and 1/8 all 3 times. And I couldn't believe it. And the next day, met Greg after he got off work, took all the hero shots, and just enjoyed it. So hopefully you liked this episode. There's a lot more coming to you before season starts, and we're going to do something different this year. Outdoor X Media has expanded big time this year. We have over 20 team members. We are going to bring you an overload of content during the deer season, as live as we possibly can. We're going to try to do, you know, daily updates. If somebody's out hunting, we're going to try to post an update on YouTube that we can share to our Instagram and Facebook pages, and you guys can follow along with us, and you can see where the stages of the deer rut's at, what we're seeing compared to what you're seeing, and hopefully you get to see some kills along the way. So we're all super excited. Now that the calendar's finally turned to August, we're 2 months out from being able to sit in a tree here in Iowa. So once again, thanks for following. We really, really do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, and good luck this year.